Hello and welcome to another Tabletop Ramblings Middle-earth strategy battle game battle reports. Today's battle report holds the fate of Minas Tirith in its hands as Aragorn leads the Return of the King Legendary Legion against Gothmog and his force of Mordor. Hoping to save Minas Tirith is Aragorn and his Return of the King Legendary Legion. We have leading the force Aragorn, and he has 12 Warriors of the Dead, 6 with shield and 6 with spear and shield. And then for theme, we're just going to replace these two warriors with Legolas and Gimli. Of course, they're not going to be Legolas and Gimli. They will have the profile of Warriors of the Dead. They're just going to look like they're there for the sake of looking pretty, because these are incredibly beautiful sculpts. These 3 hunter models, and this army as well is from the Imps Gaming tournament. This was the first place prize, so a big shout out to Imps Gaming, saving me having to try and procure these amazing sculpts and paint them far better than I could ever do. So that is Aragorn's warband. We'll keep reminding ourselves that that's not actually Legolas and Gimli. And then we've also got the King of the Dead, and he is also leading 12 Warriors of the Dead. He has 7 with shield and then 5 with spear and shield. And that is 600 points of the Return of the King Legendary Legion. The forces of evil surrounding Minas Tirith are led by Gothmog. He is atop his warg and he has a shield. He has with him 6 Moranon orcs with shield, 6 normal Mordor orcs with spear, and a banner with spear. There's also the all-important Shaman, who will hopefully be casting Fury to give the Fearless rule, as all of those ghosts cause terror. So he is the Shaman leading 6 orcs, just the normal Mordor orcs, 3 of whom have a shield and 3 have a spear. There's also a Orc Captain. He is fittingly kitted out as a pirate, the ones here watching the docks. And he has with him 10 orcs. 3 have a 2-handed weapon, 2 have shield, and 5 have a spear. And then the reason that we've not gone for Gothmog's Legion, the fearsome war beast, the great beast of Gorgoroth. This tramples rather than charges, so it doesn't need courage tests to charge. So hopefully it'll be able to trample some ghosts, although at defense 8 it's going to be hard work for the Mordor force to cut through these Army of the Dead. At the docks of Minas Tirith there's a few tents that the orcs have set up and some burned out buildings. There is one central objective, the snowy objective marker in the middle, and that's because today's battle is hold ground. Both forces wanting to secure the area outside Minas Tirith, one to save it, the other to burn it. The victory points for this scenario are mostly around having that central objective, with 3, 5 and 7 awarded for either having more on the objective, double or triple. There's also 1 or 2 for wounding or killing the enemy leader, and 1 or 3 for breaking the enemy or breaking them while unbroken. This game ends on the roll of a 1 or 2 after one force has been broken, at which point we'll count up the objectives, the victory points rather, and see who has won. Deployment for this battle is Maelstrom of Battle. So at the end of the movement phase, the forces will come on with the randomised deployment on the Maelstrom of Battle table. So we'll roll for first turn priority and see who is coming on. And priority goes to good on the green dice, so we'll roll for their warbands. End of first turn movement, and Aragorn, rolling well on the deployment chart, came in on the right hand side. He's come on in the middle, fanned out a little bit, not knowing where evil were going to come on, and he's ready to just charge towards the centre. King of the Dead then rolled poorly and got put by evil in this corner, away from Aragorn, just so that they can't link up very easily. But then evil proceeded to roll very, very badly on the table, with the Shaman and Gothmog not coming in, the Captain coming in at Good's request, right up in that back corner away from everything. And then the Great Beast with a 4 was able to come in either north or south, which would have really hurt the forces of evil if it had been able to just trample over stuff. But it decided to just play a little bit safer. And it's come on. It's more than 6 away from the Army of the Dead, so it'll get some bow shots without being able to be charged. Just because unsupported, it'll get overwhelmed and massacred at only fight 4. Especially as the King of the Dead special rule means that if he deals a single unfated wound, it's an instant kill. So he can instantly kill the Great Beast. So that is the end of movement. There are going to be some shots from the Howdah of the Great Beast, so we'll go into the shoot phase. There are 6 archers that can see into the rabble of ghosts down here, so they're just going to shoot. They're hitting on 5s. They get 2 hits, and at strength 2 on defense 8, they need something crazy like 6s by 5s. There is a 6. Oh, but a 6 by 3, that is no wounds. And so that then is the end of the turn. We'll see if we can find green dice. There we go. So we'll roll for priority for turn 2. And again, it goes to the forces of good. Start of the movement phase, it's good priority. Both Aragorn and the Captain are going to be calling heroic marches, just to try and get to the centre that little bit quicker. End of the movement phase, and with good priority, Aragorn just launched himself towards the centre, and the King of the Dead and his band ran so that they were closer to the centre and at least 8 inches away from the beast so that it couldn't charge them. In Evil's move, the Captain, again, just ran towards the centre. And then the beast moved. It has to move its full unless it hits something. So it moved its full behind the Warriors of the Dead. It's 6 inches away, so it can't be charged. Well, 6 and a tiny bit, so it can't be charged. But with its 8-inch movement and with its pivot, it should be able to get quite a few on a trample if it's successful. Then Gothmog arrived on a 6 and came in here to try and pin the Warriors of the Dead against the Great Beast. And the Shaman managed to get a 6 as well and came in to support him. Then when pulling out for this camera view to overview the battle, Gothmog can now see that he's potentially trapped himself. As much as he's trapping these guys between these two, he's trapped himself and his orcs between a very angry Aragorn and King of the Dead. So this will be an interesting battle here if Aragorn chooses to ignore the centre and go after Gothmog. So that's the movement. There will be some shooting again, so we'll go into the shoot phase. From this angle, there's 5 of the orc archers that can see the army of the dead. They're going to be shooting into the backs, and they're shooting into the spearmen, if we can hold those dice. So hitting on 5s, ooh, just 1. That's abysmal. And wounding on 6s by 5s. Oh, it's a 6 by 3 again. The army of the dead shrug off those arrows, and we go into priority. And once again, we've not got enough dice. There we are. So priority, ooh, goes to evil. We'll see if good want to do any heroics. Start of the move phase, and Aragorn is calling a heroic march. And this captain up here is calling a heroic march as well. Aragorn's been using his free 1 each turn to march, whereas that captain is now out of might. Down here, the King of the Dead thought about a heroic move to try and link up. If he's able to get up here, Aragorn moving quite fast, they should just about be able to link up. But if it doesn't go very well, then the King of the Dead's probably going to die, because he's only got 1 might, and Gothmog can strike up and charge in. So, especially if he counters the heroic move and then charges in, then the King of the Dead will have lost his might for nothing. With only 1 might, he can't really afford to waste it at this point. So it is evil to move first, and we'll see how that goes. And the other thing to mention as well is that, of course, the Shaman is calling a heroic channel to try and get the channeled version of Fury off, so that there's that 6-up save for the orcs. First to move for evil is the Shaman. He's going to be casting Fury. He needs to go first so that the Fearless bubble is up for those orcs. And it goes off on a 5 there. He's left with no might and 1 will, just enough to keep that spell active throughout the game. Near the end of the evil movement, and they've managed to trap and surround quite a few of the warriors of the dead, engaging all along the line. Gothmog has managed to get in with a couple of guys onto 1, and they formed a bit of a wall so that they can't be surrounded themselves. Then up here, the captain is just running towards the objective. If Aragorn comes round and goes for this, then the orcs will be able to go for the objective, or even comes this way. They will be able to secure that centre, and if Aragorn goes after them and goes for some kills, then they'll just have to try and die slowly and allow the orcs down here to try and work some magic. The last to move, though, is the Great Beast, who pivots, which, even while keeping the centre of the base in the same spot because of the oval base, gives him an extra bit of move, which is probably not going to make a difference because he's going to bounce off these high defence guys. He will be able to move up and squash 5 if he's unbelievably lucky, and he's just going to slam forward into that chap there. So he has a trample, which is 2 strength, 6 hits, and on defense 8, that is 5s. Oh, and it's a 6. So he tramples the first spearman. He then goes on into a chap with a shield, and it's a 1 and a 2. So he is unable to proceed, but he's locked that guy in combat and squashed a 15 or 16 point model, so that's not too shabby. The trample charge, it counts as a move, so there's no terror check for these terror-causing ghosts. And of course, the Shaman has Fury up, which means any orc within 6 inches passes their courage tests automatically. So that is Evil's move. We'll come back after Aragorn has completed his march. With Aragorn's move, he just charged up onto the centre. He's just within 6 inches of one of those orcs. Probably should have measured that better with the evil side, but it's not the end of the world if they kind of taunt Aragorn. He'll have to charge alone. None of the others can reach. Even Legolas and Gimli who we remind ourselves are just proxying for standard Warriors of the Dead with shield. They're just there to look cool. Then here, the unengaged Warriors of the Dead have gone in to try and countercharge and trap the trappers. And there's an extra guy and a spear support helping out the King of the Dead. So that's all the movement. There are, again, some shots, so we'll go into the shoot phase. There are 5 shots that can see into the King of the Dead without in the ways, so they will be firing into that combat. They'll be in the way for the spear support and the combat. 1 hits. Does it hit the spear support? Yes. So then 6s by 5s. No wound. Not surprising there. Then there are 3 that can hit Aragorn. That's a more juicy target, but they all miss. That is at the top end of their range, so unsurprising that they miss that and the fact that they are just orcs with bows. So that is the shooting. We'll then go into the combat phase. And I don't think anyone is going to bother with any heroics. Gothmog, actually, Gothmog will. I think Evil need to just smash these guys to bits as quickly as possible. So Gothmog will call a heroic move, heroic combat rather. And he's also going to activate his 1-shot ability, which gives orcs reroll to wound. This is probably the best position that the orcs are going to be in all game for traps. So they're just going to go for it. They've got priority. They're going to try and smash some stuff up. So he's activating that ability. All orcs within 12 inches have either +1 to wound or reroll wounds. Let's double check. So it's re-roll all failed wounds. That is a very, very nice rule. We'll start off with Gothmog's heroic combat. We'll set the bar with the Warrior of the Dead. If we can find enough dice for him. He is going to shield. In fact, we'll set the bar with Evil because I can't find enough dice for him. So 3 from the plebs gets a 4 high. And then Gothmog on the charge only gets a 5. So the forces of good shielding gets a 3, but he is shielding, so there's 2 dice, but he fails miserably. So Gothmog on the charge, he's 3 attacks up to 4. He's then got double strikes and re-rolling all failed wounds. He is strength 4, so he's needing 6s, and he kills him on the first pass. So that guy there is dead. And then these guys with him will get to move. And we'll do that in a moment just off camera, working out where he's going to go. So Gothmog and his guys have gone off to trap guys that have trapped trappers, which is a bit of a mouthful. They've just gone off to try and help out against these Army of the Dead at the back. We'll carry on with those combats. We'll do Gothmog against this chap here, who is definitely going to shield. He doesn't want to die. Ooh, he does his best on a 6, but Gothmog is a higher fight at fight 5. And then he has double strikes, re-rolling all failed wounds, and kills him on a 6. So a strong start there for Gothmog, who's not normally well known for his killing power. We then have a 1-on-1, and the Orc is going to fight him. It's a bit brave. Ooh, it doesn't pay off. And the banner is a long way away. So wounding against courage, it's 3s against strength 3 on courage, 2 down to 1, so he's wounding on 3s. But a 2 does not cut it. He backs away. We'll then do this chap here who's trapped. Again, fighting 2. So he will shield. He just needs to survive this turn. This is the most painful turn as the evil force of re-rolling failed wounds. And he survives. So that guy and that guy just back away. We then have... Oh, what order can these be done in that gets the most traps? There's just this one left. A 2 on, again, shielding. Oh, and again, it goes to good. There is the banner reroll, but it makes no difference. So these orcs are just pushed back. Rerolling all failed wounds, but you do need to win a fight for that to work. Then we've got this 1 on 2. And he's going to shield just in case. Oh, he does lose though. So The Moranon will need straight 6s. No. Re-rolling failed wounds. No. And then the guy at the back will need 6s by 4. And that is a 6. So 6s by 4. No, it's a 3. He is fine. He just backs away. We've then got this guy here who's trapped. He will shield. That orc trapped. Loses. And he is getting wounded on 3s. 2 6s. And they didn't even need their double strikes. So fairly poor here from the orcs. This is the turn they needed to kill. We then have 2 on lots and lots. Let's see what evil get. Can they set a high bar? They get a 5. That could be worse. There are 2 plebs in the fight. We'll roll them. No. And then King of the Dead can be on some mighty gold dice. Oh, and the King of the Dead bottles it. Is it worth the last point of might to win the fight? They are on +1 wound, but that seems like an awful waste of might. He's going to have to just accept that they have won the fight. So, going after the King of the Dead. Yeah, King of the Dead on 6s from the Moranon. Re-rolling failed wounds, nothing. And then 6s by 4, nothing. So it was well worth not wasting that might on the King of the Dead. They back away. There's an awful lot of ghosts there considering the position that they were in. That heavy armour, the ghostly armour there at defence 8 is just massive with those shields. We've then got this guy here fighting the beast. The beast is 3 attacks. It does knock down, but it doesn't have monstrous charge. So it doesn't get an extra 1 on the charge. But it is still very lethal. So that guy is going to shield. Oh, but he loses because they're only fight 3, these ghosts. If they were fight 4, they would be much, much better. So he loses and he's going down on 5s. He's dead. So that is another kill for the Great Beast. The Army of the Dead have lost a few there, but not nearly enough for the orcs' liking. They need to kill lots more as Aragorn has the centre. This is an overview of the table at the end of turn 2, or possibly 3. A big battle down here while Aragorn has taken the centre. Let's roll for the next turn priority, and it goes again to evil. That is going to give good some serious thought. So down here, the King of the Dead is not going to call a heroic move. Gothmog is within 6 inches, so his Master of Battle means that he will be able to counter it for free, and it's just not worth the 1 and only might point. Then up here, Aragorn will call a heroic move. He's the only one that can get into combat, but his friends will be able to form up, and it's basically just so that Aragorn can start chopping through things and just stop these guys from kiting them either away from the objective or just forcing them to stay on the objective and doing nothing. At least this way Aragorn will hopefully start munching through some troops. The Pirate Captain is of course out of might, so there's nothing that they can do about it. After Aragorn's heroic move, he's been able to charge in. The rest of the Warriors of the Dead have not been able to reach, so they've just formed up a bit of a bubble. Evil are going to really struggle to do any form of counter-charge here with their courage, but they're going to give it a good go. Amazingly, an Orc passed the courage test to charge into Gimli, who is a Warrior of the Dead, so he causes terror. And then that allowed once his control zone had gone, this two-hander to jump in on Aragorn with a spear support. So Aragorn has a couple of extra guys to contend with. The rest just formed up. Then down here, the Great Beast of Gorgoroth is pivoting so that he'll hit these 2, but not the King of the Dead. The King of the Dead can one-shot with his special rule, with his Drained Soul, all of the 5 or 6 wounds off that beast, so he doesn't want to risk getting into combat with him. So he's going after these 2 here. So he moves forward, clips him, and kills him on a 5. Then he keeps going, hits him. Ooh, but doesn't quite kill him. And so he'll be engaged in combat with that chap. And then we'll come back once we've moved these orcs. The orcs with their movement have just fully surrounded everything. They couldn't get as many traps as they'd like, but they've gone in where they could. The King of the Dead is fighting. He's just actually fighting two. This guy's had to go in to take away the spearmen. But hopefully they can break a couple of guys, because up here, Good still have the objective, and Aragorn is about to start killing. He's used his 3 point of might on a heroic move, and he's also against the captain and 2 guys. So there's no point calling a heroic combat because he can't kill them all. But we will start up here anyway. We'll let Aragorn set the bar. In fact, no, we'll let the forces of evil set the bar. So it's a captain with 2 attacks. He's got a friend and 2 spear sports, so can't count. That is actually 5 dice, and they comfortably get 2 6s. So Aragorn, needing a 6 to win, gets the 6. There we go. And he is going to put all of his attacks into the captain. He does 2 wounds. Is it worth a point of might to kill that captain? He is out of might. Yeah, Aragorn is going to spend 1 from his store to guarantee the kill. Would fate have saved him? Yes, so it was worth it. These guys back away, as does the spear support, to make way for the captain, but the captain is killed. Aragorn there, one-shotting a captain, showing his power. There's then a 2-on-2. This guy's not engaged. So 2-on-2, reminding ourselves that that's not Gimli, it's just a normal Warrior of the Dead who loses, but he does get a banner re-roll effect from Aragorn, who inspires ghosts, and it's a draw. So 1, 2, 3 evil, but on a 4+, it goes to good. Wounding on courage, without Harbinger of Evil from the King of the Dead, who's a million miles away. It is strength 3 on courage 2, so wounding on 4s. Oh, but it makes no difference, and that guy is killed by our Gimli proxy. That is good work there from the 3 hunters. So the first combat then will be this 2-on-1. He is trapped, he's going to shield, and he loses. So double strikes from the Moranon needing 6s, no. And double strikes from the Orc needing 6s by 4s. That one is cocked. Oh, it is a 6 by 5. Finally, an Orc has killed a Warrior of the Dead. That has killed him, although it does now mean that this guy's no longer trapped. So he's going to fight it and win, needing 3s to wound a spearman. Oh, a 2 doesn't get him, but he forces those spears back. We then have probably no more traps, except this guy here I think may well be trapped. 2-on-2 because he's going to shield. But he wins it nice and easy. Although there is the banner, a 6 to draw, not quite. So these guys back away. We then have a 2-on-1, and again, he's going to fight it. He has drawn the fight. There is a banner for evil to a draw. So good or evil, it goes to evil. And needing a 6 on the Moranon. Oh, kills him. He is dead. That's a pleasant surprise for evil and unfortunate for good. We then have a 1-on-1, and the Orc's going to shield. There's not much. Oh, in fact, no, he's been knocked. Gothmog is engaged in that combat, so the Orc's not going to bother shielding. He is going to fight it. And we'll set the bar with good at a 3 high. What does the Orc get? Just a 2. And we'll give Gothmog some tabletop ramblings dice. Can he get higher than a 3? Yes, he can. Tabletop ramblings dice never fail, although actually one of those is just a random blue one. And so then we'll do the Orc first, needing 6s. No, and then still 6s from Gothmog. First set of strikes. In fact, he's on the charge, isn't he? So he's got 4 4 attacks, needing a 6. Absolutely nothing. But doubled up because he's knocked the guy prone. Is it worth a point of might? No, it's not worth any might. He just pushes him back and that guy is knocked prone. We'll stand him up and put a prone marker on him in a moment. We've then got... he's already fought against those. I wonder why they weren't engaged in the fight. Hey-ho. We then have the King of the Dead who's trapped. He is going to he's going to fight with Tabletop Ramblings dice against 2. Can he do it? Oh, no, he can't. And what's that cocked one? Oh, in fact, he's only got 1 might, hasn't he? So he can't do anything about it. He is trapped. It is 6s from the Moranon. Nothing at all. Although re-rolling 1s actually with the army bonus. Forgot that this wasn't the Legion. So re-rolling 1s. And that's a wound. A wound on the King of the Dead. And then the peasant behind fails. Oh, that is interesting there. So he's got loads of fate. Takes his first fate and fails it. His second passes. So that's 2 fate off the King of the Dead. And we'll just separate them. We've then got the guy shielding against the Great Beast in 2. That guy is going to Piercing Strike. Shielding doesn't really help him. He's only a 4 high against the Beast with the 6. And then 5s to wound. Kills him. The Beast on a rampage. 1 on the charge and 1 in the fight phase each turn. He's killed 6 so far, which is pretty impressive. And the forces of good are looking a bit bleak down here now. In fact, there is just one last fight. It's this spearman who was trapping the King of the Dead against 1 guy there. It's a draw, good or evil. It goes to good, wounding on 3s, and he kills him. The warrior stabs the orc with his ghostly blade. And that is the end of the fight phase and the end of the turn. So we'll roll for priority. And this time it goes to good. Start of the turn, and with evil losing priority, the Great Beast is calling a heroic move. The King of the Dead is going to counter. He wants to charge the Beast and kill it with his special rule. The Beast really doesn't want that to happen. So on a 1, 2 or 3, the heroic move roll off goes to evil, and on a 4+, oh, it goes to good. So the forces of good will get to move first, and passing a courage test to charge the terrifying Beast, the King of the Dead charges in, ready to one-shot that evil rhino. With that heroic move, the King of the Dead's warriors managed to tie up as many as they could, but 1 was still able to counter-charge around the back, and 2 there, trapping the King of the Dead. They've turned off Gothmog's charge bonus. They managed to charge in, but they are quite trapped here. Up here, however, good have swarmed all over these orcs, ready to rip them apart. There was nothing really that evil could do to move any spearmen around. There were only 2 unengaged, and they were happy where they were. So a very brief movement phase. There are some shots. We did forget last time, I think. But there are some shots, so we'll work those out and we'll come back in the shoot phase. So with some shots then, there are 5 orc archers with clear shots onto that spear support. Ooh, that's not too bad there. 3 hits, looking for 6s by 5s. And they all miss. The only other shots will be this side, and they're all engaged in combat, so there's no point with those. We'll go into the fight phase. In the fight phase, Aragorn is calling a heroic combat. He's only against 2. That spearman is just spear supporting. So Aragorn is going to try and carve through them. He's using his 3 point of might, so there's no reason not to. That's the orcs, and then Aragorn gets the 6. He is out for blood. He's got Anduril, so he's wounding on 4s, and he kills them both. And the spearman falls over in fear. Aragorn then is, well, there's nowhere really for him to go that's that helpful. He's just going to charge that spear support. And we'll carry on with that fight. So Aragorn against a stabbing spear support. Why would you not? Then Aragorn wins and carves through another orc. 3 orcs in as many seconds for the king. We've then got this fight here. It's 3 on 1. They've trapped the orc. They lose the fight, although there is the banner reroll from Aragorn, to at least a draw. So then 1, 2, 3 evil. No, it goes to good on the 6. Wounding on 3s. On 4s, in fact, because... on 4s, because there's no -1 to the courage. And they get him. So he is dead. We then have these 2 against the 2-hander, who's going to fight normally and draw the fight. Banner reroll to a win for the forces of good. Again, wounding on 4s, but this time he survives. He is trapped though, and he dies. This has been a very brutal fight here. We've then got a 2 on 1, and that is it's a 2-hander. He's going to fight normally though. Ooh, and win again, but banner reroll. Still to a win. Needing 6s by 4s. That 5 is not enough. Gimli backing away there. That Warrior of the Dead proxy. We then have this guy first. He's probably trapped. 3 on 1. He's a 2-hander, so he can't shield. And he's lost. And he's going down on 4s. And he dies. That is brutal from the Army of the Dead. We then have, if we can stand him up, 2 on 1. He doesn't have a shield either. And loses. And dies. Leaving, we've dragged him away, but leaving just 1 orc left from that warband. 2 in fact, because we've also got Flaming Brand guy. That was absolute carnage from Aragorn and his warband. After the brutality from the Army of the Dead, they're now fighting down here and shielding for their lives, or unlives. This guy here against Gothmog and friends, shields to not very good, just a 4. And then there's 3 friends and Gothmog. Gothmog on Tabletop Ramblings dice. He is distinctly average, but his friends are not. And they have beaten that guy. So the 2 standard orcs will be needing 6s by 4s. The Moranon, no. And then Gothmog himself, still needing 6s. No. This guy backs away, safely fending off all of those attacks. We'll then do this one here. It's 2 against 2. He's going to shield. The Shaman is backing up with his spear, but he's only 1 attack anyway, and you can only provide 1 attack with a spear. And they lose and are pushed back. That is poor work from orcs, but good there from the ghosts. We then have 3 and a banner against 1, and again he is going to shield. So setting the bar with his shielding. That 4 is cocked, so we'll just ignore that because it's hard to get. And it's a 1, so he is on a 3 high. We'll do the 3 that aren't the banner first. They've won. He can back away because this guy can make way. And there is 1 Moranon in there needing a 6. No. And then the 3 orcs needing 6s by 4s. There's 2 6s. And there's a 5. He is killed. We then have an awful lot of guys here. We have 4. Try and fish that dice away. 4 on 1. He again is going to shield. Oh, on a 2 high. That's poor. We have a lot of dice going after him. Only a 4 high, but it's enough. So the 2 Moranons needing 6s. Kill him. That's another dead Warrior of the Dead. Still not as brutal a turn as was inflicted upon the orcs, but nasty nonetheless. We then have the King of the Dead. He's fighting 3 guys who get 3 high, and the beast gets the 6. So with 2 attacks and 1 might, the king needs at least a 5. He's got a 6. He loves it. he's going to put all his attacks into the beast, which is courage, fairly low. He does a wound to the beast and instantly evaporates all of its wounds with his drained soul. So the beast is dead, which is impressive there. We'll then find some dice and we'll do all of the throne rolls there for all of those guys falling from the howdah. Having insta-killed the great beast, the King of the Dead laughs as the orcs fall off. So they're going to be taking a strength 3 hit, each of these orcs. The defense 4, so they're getting wounded on 5s. And they fall far enough to inflict 2. Oh, that is an awful lot of dead orcs. Oh, that is nasty. So 4 die, 5 survive, but they take another hit. Oh, and they all survive. So we'll have 5 guys that fall and survive, although they are prone. And then the captain will take 2 hits. And that one of those is a wound. So that is nasty. A 1 wound captain and 5 orcs. That's a lot dead there. So 4 orcs and the beast killed in 1 mighty blow from the King of the Dead. With that massive blow struck and those 6 orcs falling down, Good are looking in a very strong position as we roll for the next turn priority. Oh, it's a draw, so it goes to the forces of evil. Evil have a dilemma now because most of their force are a long way from the objective and they've lost that rapidly moving 11 models that could contest the centre. And if they stop to kill these guys before going up, they will break the army of the dead. So evil kind of have to just abandon killing these guys and go for the centre, but Aragorn can form a wall and rip them apart. So now they are really regretting having the beast come anywhere near the King of the Dead. That heroic move roll off and subsequent kill is really hurting the evil force. Evil have surrounded the King of the Dead with the captain and Gothmog and as many as they could get in. This is the captain from the Great Beast, who is now just a captain on foot with 1 might left. And then a couple of guys just engage these. They're not surrounding them, they're just charging forward. These guys had to stand and move, so they could only move 3. And this line has charged as close as they can to the objective. Aragorn was charged by 1 and a spear support, and a couple of guys have just gone to help him out. Aragorn will be able to call a heroic move and support his band that are just trying to wall this off, because if they can either break themselves or break the enemy and they have the central objective, they will win. So it's looking like it's going to be a tense few turns. There are no shots because the archers, as much as they've moved half, had half movement because they were prone, so they've all moved full. But there are some combats. We'll start off, however, with Aragorn's heroic combat. He's calling it for free with his 3 point of might. He gets the 6 and he annihilates that guy who was trapped there. So he's killed him, and then his friend is going to go into combat, but Aragorn is going to run down here where he's needed. He is going to run towards Legolas and Gimli, ready to hold the line against Gothmog and the horde of orcs. We'll stay up here with the 3 against 1. Can the spearman get a 6? No. No chance on a 1. And he's obliterated there on the 4. His flaming brand trying to keep the ghouls at bay doesn't quite work for him. We then have some fights down here. This guy's trapped. Oh, just move him out of his trap, but he's trapped against him. So he's going to shield just to be a pain for the orcs down at the back. And it pays off for him, although there is a banner reroll. 2 of 5, so it's a draw. Oh, and it goes to evil. So, needing 6s, double 6. The Moranon, who was just trying to tie him up, actually manages to kill him. That is impressive. We then have 2 on 1, and again, he's going to shield. He loses, though. 6s by 4. There's a 6. By 4. Wow. The orcs, who were just there to tie them up, didn't even bother kind of overwhelming them. Managed to slaughter the 2 remaining ghosts. We then have the King of the Dead, and Gothmog has called a heroic strike. The captain did think about a heroic combat, just a slingshot closer to the objective, but it's not really a given that the King of the Dead is going to die. He has used 2 fate, but he's still 2 wounds, 1 fate at defense 8. So Gothmog strikes, only to fight 7, so he can't faint. So what does the King of the Dead get? A 3 high. And despite saying he had a point of might, he's actually not, because he called that heroic move, didn't he? So a 3 high, Gothmog on the charge, wins very comfortably there. So we'll do the 3 orcs. They're going to be needing 6s by 4. Nothing at all. We then have the Moranon needing 6s. Does a wound. So we'll fate that and save it. So he's now just got 2 wounds. We then have the captain, who with double strikes needing 6s could do it. No. Oh, is he going to mite it? We'll see if Gothmog can do the deed first. So the captain has that that dice there that can be mited. Gothmog on the charge does 1. These are double strikes. Oh, we've rolled too many there, and 2. So he has killed him. No need for any might to be spent. The King of the Dead and that Harbinger has been neutralized. It took the great beast and a lot of orcs to do it, but they have managed to wipe out that warband. Ready now for this central fight. Let's roll for priority. And it goes to the Forces of Good. Lucky number 13 for the Forces of Good. They are bang on the 50% mark, so they're not yet broken. 1 more casualty and they will break. They have priority, and the Forces of Evil are not going to try and call any heroics. So this is going to be tense. Oh, in fact, the captain could call a heroic march. Yeah, the captain will call a heroic march and just throw their numbers down the throat of the army of the dead. In fact, ignore that. He's not actually a captain, although he has the same profile. He is an orc commander, which just means he doesn't have march. So he's not going to call a march because he can't. So good priority, and we'll see where they move. End of the move phase, and Aragorn has just blocked off the route to the objective with the guys that were up here. One of them managed to spear support, and the others are just running onto the objective. And then Evil replied by just charging up. They didn't engage because they don't want to lose guys needlessly, and also they don't want to kill anyone just yet because they'll break the Forces of Good. These two are running the long way around, just because the more guys that go in different directions, the harder it will be to block them all out. Gothmog is out of charge range, but he is to get counter-charged, but he can charge himself, and Aragorn is within 6 inches of him. So Master of Battle from Gothmog will be able to counter any heroics. That's the end of the move. All the bowmen have moved full, so it is priority. And of course, Legolas, again, is just a warrior of the dead. So he has no shots. So we'll roll for priority, and it goes to the Forces of Good. So I think Evil will allow them to do that, because if they charge forward, they're away from the objective. And if they wait, then Evil will get to charge and can't be counter-charged. So we'll come back after Good have decided what they're going to do. End of the movement phase, and Aragorn and Fate Gimli charged in. Aragorn to get some kills, and this warrior of the dead and his spear support just to hold off the horde. here. The Army of the Dead just formed a wall too thick so that it couldn't get heroic combated through, although Evil are doing their level best to break through on one flank. And then Evil have just... they've got charged here, so they've obviously had to stay there, but then here they've not engaged. They don't really want to risk the 2-on-2 at even fight value. They are just going to stand and look menacing. Importantly though, these two are running round. However, there's a big host of undead on the objective because a lot of the spaceports and Warrior of the Dead ran back to be a secondary line of defense on that objective, knowing that Gothmog and the Captain could abuse them. The control zone of the space support meant that Gothmog and the Captain couldn't get in on the spearmen at the back for a heroic combat off into these ranks, sharing the combat. They've had to go for two separate ones, so it makes the heroic combat a lot less enjoyable really for Evil. They're more likely to fluff it, so there's going to be some thinking to do in the combat phase, which we'll go into now. In fact, there are two shots. These guys didn't move. They have shots into this guy here. One does hit, another 6 would be good. Ooh, a 5, not quite. Then the rest of the archers have thrown themselves into combat, ready for some glorious ghost killing, or more likely some fluffing and rolling ones. So let's go into the combat phase where Aragorn will call a free heroic combat. He wants blood. We'll let the orcs set the bar. The front two are one stabbing, one's piercing, striking. They do get the 6. What does Aragorn get? Ooh, a 4 high for Aragorn. He has bottled it. That would cost all of his might to counter. At this stage, it probably is worth it. He's going to burn his 2 might to win the fight. And then he's going for kills on 4s. He kills both. That's definitely what Aragorn needed there. Aside from obviously having to burn all his might. He is then going to run back and go after Gothmog. He's going to run back and kill this chap here. Gothmog and the Captain didn't call heroic combats, deciding to sort of save their might and to push forward. The game won't end this turn, even if good break. It will at best end next turn, so the game will last a little bit longer, and they don't want to run out of resources and get pinned by Aragorn and his infinite might. We'll then do Gimli. These two are piercing, striking against the 2 Warriors of the Dead. Gimli, of course, being that proxy and losing if he's in range of the Aragorn banner. Oh, it will make a difference. Oh yeah, he's easily in 6 looking off the camera. So 1, 2 or 3, it's Evil, and it's a 1. That is not good for Gimli. The piercing strikers, it actually makes no difference. It's still 6s, and it kills him. Gimli goes down, and that breaks the Army of the Dead. We then have Aragorn on 1. Aragorn fighting a bowman who's going to stab because why not? And Aragorn wins there, cuts him down. Yes, he does. Aragorn has really done some killing here. We then have the... we'll do this fight first because it's good priority and they don't want their guy to be trapped. So it is Gothmog against a shielding guy. So Gothmog will be on the tabletop ramblings dice. And the archer there with the stone is going to be on red. And, oh, it is a win by the forces of Evil, but only just. Banner reroll. Oh, a 4 and a 4. Gothmog takes it on fight value. Hopefully Gothmog can do something more. Oh, in fact, he did have an extra attack because he was on the charge. So Gothmog, first set of dice needing 6s, gets him. Gothmog gets the kill, but he is very, very close to scary Aragorn. So then we've got the Captain and 1. We'll put the Captain on the gold Imps Gaming dice, and that one is definitely going to shield. He loses and he can't even banner it because of the Imps Gaming 6 there for the captain, who is fight 4. Captain needing 6s. The Orc needing 6s by 4s. Ooh, a 3. That defense 8 has made the difference in a lot of those fights that are against non-Moranons and captains. So that is the end of the fight phase and end of the turn. The forces of good have broken, so at the end of next turn, we'll be rolling that dice to see if the game ends. And speaking of next turn, we'll roll for priority. It's a draw, so this time it goes to evil. And Aragorn will definitely be using that 3 point of might on a heroic move. He needs to box out the forces of evil from the objective. And that means that Master of Battle from Gothmog will be able to counter it for free. But it probably is the only real call there, otherwise the objective is getting swamped. So on a 1, 2, 3, it goes to the forces of evil, but on a 4+ it goes to good, and it's a 2. So for free, Gothmog counters that, and he is going first. So Gothmog, moving first, does not call with me because it's evil priority anyway, and he charges into Aragorn, who has spent his 3 point of might and he's got none in his store, but Gothmog still has 1 left. Then we'll do the rest of evil move. Winning the heroic move roll off, Gothmog charged into Aragorn, and that allowed the orcs some serious advantage. The Shaman, starting off over here, allowed brave orcs to charge in. Very uneven fights here. Good will probably slaughter those orcs, but they're just being held back to stop anyone supporting Aragorn. Here, some more favourable fights for evil. The captain just moved around to just stop anyone from coming around and trapping Gothmog, although only 1 in the end managed to do anything about it. Legolas was forced to charge into these 3, or 2 and a spear support, to negate the control zone for 1 to come and help out Aragorn, while the orcs, most of whom couldn't get fury from the positioning, things had to move first, so a lot of them just ran forward to be within 6 of the objective, which is still fairly good there for the forces of evil, as at this point in time they do outnumber good on that objective. So we have no shooting. We'll go into the combat phase, where Gothmog is calling a heroic strike with his last point of might. This is his all or nothing here. If he loses this fight, he will probably be killed. So we'll let Aragorn and friend set the bar. Aragorn and friend get lots of 6s there. So then Gothmog, he is in range of a banner, just. He has 4 on the charge. He's out of might. Oh, it's only a 5. Banner to a 6. No. Gothmog has bottled it. Aragorn takes 3 swings at Gothmog. Only does 1 wound. The army of the dead is going after the warg and kills it to throw the general there. He survives the fall, but he is prone and he's lost a wound, which is going to fate and fail it. I believe he's only got 1 fate. If he has got more, we'll see if it makes a difference. No, so even with 3 fate, he would still fail them all. I think he's only got 1, but either way, he is on the ground. His warg has been killed out from under him. He's taken a wound. And more importantly, he is now out of might, and Aragorn is ready to abuse him next turn. So we'll come back once we've found him a dismount. So Gothmog, very angry and very dismounted. We then come to this fight here. That's an archer, the one with the rock. So he is fighting 2, loses, and dies. That's unfortunate there for the archer, although he was a sacrificial lamb, trying to help out the cause of killing Aragorn, but it didn't pay off. We then have 4 and the banner support on 1. So that guy that's getting overwhelmed is going to shield to a 3 high, bannering to a 4. He's against 4 in the banner. We'll put the banner in gold. And they easily win that. So who's in that fight? They're all standard orcs. So all needing 6s by 4s. On the first set of dice, there's a 1 that's rerollable. No, so there's got 1 6, 6s by 4s. No, although rerollable with the army bonus, and that's a 4. So they have killed that chap there. We then have some very bad fights here for the orcs. There is this one-on-one where the guy's trapped, evil priority, so they'll do that one first. The ghoul will shield, the army of the dead will shield and push it back. We've then got a one-on-one here. They're both just going to fight it. It's good that win. Banner reroll doesn't help evil. And then wounding him on 4s. No, the Moranon backs away. We've then got a 2-on-1, so the orc is going to shield. He loses. He has got a banner reroll to a draw, so banner for good, still a draw, and then the 1, 2, 3 evil. Oh, it does go to evil, so these 2 are pushed back, and they're going to back away so that they are just trying to block off the objective as best as they can. We then have a fight here. It's a 3-on-1, and he will be trapped, so the warrior of the dead is going to shield. He draws the fight. He's got a 6-inch banner reroll from Aragorn to a 2, so it's a draw. 1, 2, 3 evil, but on a 4 it goes to good, so these guys back away. We then have Legolas, the warrior of the dead, posing as Legolas against 3. The warrior of the dead shields, rolls low, banner re-rolls to a 6, and pushes the orcs back. That is good work there from the army of the dead that turn. They have really held the line. The line that is crumbling, but still doing their best there to keep those orcs back. So important roll. Does the game end on a 1 or a 2? Now that one force has started broken, the game will end. But it's a 3, so the game continues. Priority goes to evil. Is there any point in Aragorn calling a heroic move? There probably isn't. So, especially as with Master of Battle, Gothmog can just counter it for free. So, Aragorn is just going to have to let the orcs... Although, if he does call any wins, he could try and kill Gothmog. Yeah, he's going to call with his free. He is a higher fight value, so... And there's no might left on Gothmog. So Gothmog will counter for free. But it goes to Aragorn, who charges in to the captain and Gothmog, because he is brave and or suicidal. We'll come back with the after the rest of the move. After that move... Good have tried to box out as many orcs as they can, but they just didn't have the bodies. And even though they were just broken, Mordor, with the Fury Shaman, have managed to keep everyone in the fight. Anyone that wasn't engaged was within the Fury bubble. And they've just moved everything up, trying to trap as many as possible and getting as many within 6 inches of that objective as possible. The banner is being charged by a very brave warrior of the dead. So this orc has run from the objective just to make sure that the banner doesn't go down. More out of pride than anything else. And then Aragorn has been surrounded. So no shooting. We'll go into the combat phase. And we'll start off with this guy here. He is... In fact, no, we'll start off with Legolas against 2. And the orc is going to piercing strike. Legolas will shield. He is, of course, a normal warrior of the dead. And he wins, pushing those orcs back. They are still, however, within 6 of the objective. We can then do this 2-on-2 because now the Warrior of the Dead is no longer trapped. Oh, in fact, no, it's evil priority, isn't it? That was a silly way around, but it doesn't really matter. He has lost. 6s by 4s. No kills there. And he just backs away. We then have 2-on-1 here. Again, Warrior of the Dead shielding because he's trapped. He loses, but there is the Aragorn reroll. No. So needing 6s by 4s, double strikes. There's the 6. Ooh, but a 2. Those 6s by 4s have been incredibly difficult to get. We then have a 3-on-1. And again, the Warrior of the Dead shielding. Loses, but he's got the reroll from Aragorn to get the draw. Good or evil? Goes to evil on the 2. So there is just one Moranon in there who needs a 6 and fails. And then the 2 spearmen need 6s by 4s. That's a 6 and that's a 4. They bring down the Warrior of the Dead. We then have this fight here, which is a 3, including the Shaman against 1. And no surprises there, that trapped Warrior of the Dead will shield. And he gets a 4 high. This one, that was a 6, but it's a 4 high for the Warrior of the Dead. He can banner to a 4. So the Moranon and the Shaman are both strength 4, needing 6s. In fact, we'll just roll the Moranon first. No, and then 6s by 4s from the Spearmen. To 6 by 5, he kills him. Just because I'm not 100% sure what strength the Shaman is, and it didn't matter, so we don't need to look it up. So then a 1-on-1, and the Orc is going to shield that. So the Warrior of the Dead fights, wins, oh, but doesn't kill. We then have the guy fighting the banner, and he will fight it. We'll roll the banner if we need to. Oh, and we don't, because that's a 6, so the banner can't win. Banner reroll? No. And he's going to ignore the banner because that guy can pick it up. He's going to go for this guy because he is closer to the objective. But that 3 is not enough. So he backs away, especially with the army bonus, actually. Outnumbering means that that Orc is courage 3. So definitely not there. Needing force to bring him down. We then come to Aragorn, who is trapped. We'll do that captain fight afterwards because that's keeping the trap. So we'll let evil set the bar. They have 3 and Gothmog's 3. So Gothmog will be the tabletop ramblings dice and will be stabbing. In fact, everything in that fight is going to stab. Oh no, they're not going to stab because they don't need to because of the army bonus. So that is a 4 high. That's poor. Aragorn can win this. He's got no mites. So he just needs a 4 to win it on fights. And there's the 5. They have won. And that banner is a long way away. Yes, it was pinned too far from the combat. So Aragorn has won. And he's going to sink all 3 of his attacks into Gothmog. And kills Gothmog. The Orc commander is dead. Fortunately, there is another commander there, although he's not quite of the same caliber. He is going to fight off those 2. He's got no shield. He's just going to fight it against 2. Oh, and he loses. Blades of the Dead, and he's trapped. He is courage 4. So they are wounding him on 5s. 1 wound. He took a wound from falling, so his fate, he's safe, but he's down. We'll just separate those a touch. He is down to 1 wound, no fate. That was a very, very brutal turn there. In fact, that banner backed away. And it could probably back away to the fight. Would it have made a difference? No, it wouldn't have made a difference anyway. And that is the end of the turn. Rolling that important dice, does the game end? No, it doesn't, not on a 3. So the game continues and Aragorn now needs to start carving through orcs and taking this central objective. Priority goes to good. So now it is going to be a tense battle. And that captain is going to call a heroic move, actually, because he's probably going to die, so he might as well. And Aragorn will counter. And it goes to good. So Aragorn, ready to carve through some stuff, just charges in. Doesn't bother calling with me, because it's good priority anyway. End of the move phase, and good rather, have just again tried to hold back the tide of orcs. The orcs have surrounded where they can and are just trying to get kills as close to the objective as possible. Evil still outnumber good on the objective, but Aragorn is ready to carve through some guys up here. He's fighting a captain and a guy, while his spear support has been tagged by 2 archers. The banner was left alone this turn, and it's come to support because this guy decided he was best off chasing down the shaman. Not that he can one-shot the shaman, just that the further away that shaman is from the fight, the better. It also meant that one of the guys here was out of the fury range and failed his courage test. So it's definitely anyone's game. Let's go into the fight phase. And speaking of shamans with fury, there's a 6-up save, isn't there, we need to try and remember. So these 2 on 1, that Warrior of the Dead is going to fight it. He's within 6 of Aragorn, so we'll get the reroll. He's got a 6 anyway, so 1, 2, 3, it goes to evil, and a 4+ it goes to good. They do need 6s by 4 though. Rerolling 1s because they outnumber. Ooh, to a 6. Then it's 6s by 4s, and it kills him. The army bonus getting a kill. That's 1 less Warrior of the Dead, which is huge at this stage in the battle. We then have a big 3 on 1 here, because it is evil priority. Or is it? Oh no. Oh, we'll have to go back and check the footage. Actually, I can't even remember who has priority. I know that there was a heroic move roll off. Oh, and in fact, evil called it, didn't they? So it is good priority. So it's 2 on 1, and Legolas, I think he's going to fight it because the odds of him dying are very slim. So wrong way around. He is defense 8. He's Warrior of the Dead. Yeah, he's going to fight it. Oh, and it pays off. He wins. He's wounding on 4s, and he kills the guy closest to the objective. This guy backs away, still in 6 of the objective, but his friend has died. We then have a 2 on 1. This guy's no longer trapped, and he's going to fight it. He loses, but Aragorn's reroll draws the fight. Banner reroll for evil. No. 1, 2, 3 evil. 4+ for good. It's a 4, so good win. He goes after the guy closest to the objective and kills him, forcing him to back away. Evil are taking a beating now from the Blades of the Dead. We then have this fight here, and that warrior's going to shield. Go to fight, rather. And he wins! There is a banner reroll for evil, but it doesn't work. So just going after the pleb. Kills him. Oh, speaking of, 6-up save. No. Would any of those 2 have been saved? Oh, 1 would. That's such a shame that we forgot that. We then have fights here. We've got a 3 and banner on 1. I will do this one first, a 2 on 1. And again, Warrior of the Dead is going to fight it and win. There is the banner reroll to a draw. So good. We'll just leave it to the 50-50. And it pays off. So looking to kill. And he does kill. This guy makes way that way. Wow, the Warriors of the Dead have just gone crazy and are killing everything. We then have a 2 on 1. There is the evil banner supporting, but we'll roll that if we need it.
And we don't, because that's a 6, but he can re-roll one of his friends. No. Going after the Moranon, doesn't kill. This time the luck of the undead doesn't quite hold. Can Aragorn do it though? Aragorn against the captain and friend. The captain and friend are going to stab. They do their best on a 6, but Aragorn has the fight value. And he is going to stick 1 on the orc and doesn't kill him. Another one, no. The captain, because the captain's nearly dead. Yes, he gets the captain, who is out of fate and down to 1 wound. So he's killed him, and the orc backs away. We then have this guy here fighting 2, and he is, again, he's going to go brave because it's been rewarded. Ooh, not this time, but banner reroll from Aragorn. No, but it is 6s by 4s to wound, and he's absolutely fine. He just pushes Aragorn out the way and backs up. And that is an awful lot less orcs than there were a minute ago. That was a seriously brutal turn there from the Army of the Dead. We'll roll to see if the game ends. And it doesn't. The game continues. Aragorn could pull this out of the pit, whatever the phrase is. Oh, we've already rolled for priority. No, we haven't. So, losing my mind with all these deaths. Evil of 1 priority. Aragorn will call a heroic move. He might as well, and he can try and just get into the best possible positions for kills. Although, he can't really get anyone into the Shaman. Maybe he's better off doing a heroic move. We'll come back, actually. We'll have a decide what he's going to do, and we'll come back. So Aragorn will call a heroic move, and his reason for that is that if Legolas goes in there, this guy will be able to charge him and wrap into the Shaman, which means the Fury won't be able to move, and there will be 4 guys taking courage tests. So that is what Aragorn is going to do. After that heroic move, the Shaman was pinned in place. Legolas didn't need to do it. This guy could, because there were other people that could move. Legolas, however, went in somewhere where he's been annihilated, or at least potentially. The courage tests were all passed except for 1 archer that failed. This guy passed, and he's just going to try and shoot Aragorn, because why not? If he charges into combat with him, he'll only die. So that is how we're looking. Fury keeping a good couple in, especially that banner, which is now moved so that he can get all of the fights. And Aragorn has called a heroic move, so he can't call a combat. So we'll go into the fight phase, but first there is that shot. 5s to hit, misses. Nice try. If it was a tracker, then it would have worked, but alas, he is not. So we'll do the Shaman first. So 1-on-1, Army of the Dead, draw, and we'll banner re-roll it to an evil win. So then needing, we'll see if he gets a 6. No, he doesn't. So we still don't need to know how strong a Shaman is. Comment below if you know. We then have 2-on-1, and that guy is trapped. It's evil priority. So he is going to shield that Warrior of the Dead. And it wins him the fight, but there is the Orc banner, which does nothing. So these guys back away, backing away as close to the objective as they can. We then have a 1-on-1 here, and the Orc will shield. He's unlikely to kill the enemy. Banner reroll for Aragorn. He wins, pushing him back, but still in 6 of the objective. We then have a 2-on-1, and the Warrior of the Dead is going to fight it because it's done well so far. He loses. Banner reroll. No. If he'd shielded, wouldn't have helped anyway. So he loses, but he only goes down on 6s by 4s, and he's absolutely fine. We'll swing across to Aragorn against a stabbing orc. Oh, and his friend, actually. So 2 against Aragorn, and the 2 lose abysmally, and Aragorn absolutely annihilates him. He has Anduril, so he always wounds on a 4 or better. So 3 4s is all he needs. We then have this last fight, which is Legolas, who of course is that Warrior of the Dead against 3. And he's shielding, of course, although it is a draw, so he could have gone brave. 1, 2 or 3 evil, it goes to evil. So there's 1 Moranon in there. He'll need just straight 6s. No. And then the 3 orcs needing 6s by 4s. There's 1 6. And then it's a 5. And Legolas goes down. The second of the 3 hunters killed. Just Aragorn left. And 3 warriors of the dead. Oh, 4 in fact. So does the game end? No, the game continues, and at this rate, evil will be tabled, and priority goes to evil. So, is there anyone that's not in range of fury? Just that guy up there. Is that worth a point of might off Aragorn? No, Aragorn is not going to call the heroic move. He's going to save that for a combat. So we'll do evil's move and we'll come back. After the forces of evil have moved, they've engaged everywhere. Fury really coming in handy here. They've only put 1 into Aragorn. It couldn't even be a guy that can shield. It's just a bowman. But they're just hoping to try and get some kills and keep an advantage on that objective. In the combat phase, Aragorn, of course, calls a heroic combat with his 3 point of might and wins, and then kills on the 4. I thought for a second he'd bottled it then. So he's killed another orc. He can then charge these 2 very poorly placed spearmen. That was not very good there from Mordor. And we'll just keep doing it. We'll keep going with Aragorn, who wins on a 5, but there is the banner to a 6. Aragorn overstretches and loses the combat. He's pushed back and he's getting wounded on 5s. He's only defense 5. There's a wound. He then takes a fate and saves it. So 1 fate off Aragorn, but at least there is that moral victory. We then have a 2-on-1 and good are going to fight it. They lose, but they do have that banner from Aragorn to a loss. But it is 6s. Oh, by 4s, and there's 2 6s. And he dies. Should have gone safe, although going brave has got an awful lot of kills so far. So 1-on-1, the orc is going to shield. He loses, but banner reroll. Still a loss. Going down on 4s, but he's fine and he backs away. We then have a lot of guys here. We have 4 that didn't fight Aragorn, so 4-on-1. One of whom's that Shaman of the unknown strength. Let's see if the Warrior of the Dead can win. He's obviously shielding because he's surrounded. Banner reroll for both because it's a draw. It goes to evil. So the Moranon double strikes, needing 6s. Kills the Warrior of the Dead. They are falling thick and fast now that Legolas has fallen. We have 1-on-1 here, and that orc is going to shield and play safe. He wins, but there is the Aragorn banner. In fact, he can't shield, can he? We'll redo that fight. They're both going to fight it. It goes to evil, but Aragorn banner, no. 6s by 4, and it doesn't do it, so he backs away as close to the objective as he can. Wow. Another bloody turn, although this time much better for Mordor and not quite as good for the Army of the Dead. Does the game end? No, it continues. Aragorn keeps fighting to the end, although he has lost priority. There's nothing to be gained there from a heroic move, so he is just going to allow the forces of evil to charge in. After that move, the orcs have trapped the 2 remaining warriors of the dead, and the shaman is trying to stay safe as Aragorn is going to try and work his way through, because if that Fury Shaman dies, it's game over for evil. So in the fight phase, Aragorn will of course call a heroic combat. He needs to kill and he needs to bring down that shaman. So fighting against 2. Ooh, Aragorn bottles it on a 5. And that was his only point of might. Aragorn loses another combat. And he's taking wounds on 5s. He takes another wound. He's got 2 fate left, which he fails. Ooh, there we go. So Aragorn, 3 wounds, but no fate. And he backs away at a slight angle. He's still well within the range of the objective, but hopefully he's going to be able to charge in a little bit better next turn, getting closer to the shaman. We then have this 4-on-1, and this time the warrior of the dead has to shield. He's surrounded and it's not looking good for him. He wins though, except for the banner reroll, and he still wins. 4 5s for the orcs, so they just back off far enough to break contact. We then have a 3-on-1 up there, and he's going to have to shield. He loses as the Aragorn reroll, which doesn't help him. There is a Moranon needing straight 6s. No. And then it's 6s by 4s from the orcs. No. So that guy survives. And then we roll to see if the game ends 1 or a 2. It doesn't end yet again. But priority again goes to evil. And Aragorn, he's going to call a heroic move, because this way he can at least try and kill that pesky banner. So he's going to move and kill the banner. He does need a courage test because he's broken, and he's absolutely loving it. He's also got 3 wills, so he's never really going to fail them. This guy's just going to charge in and get surrounded again, and he'll obviously get surrounded again. There's nothing really that he can do about that. Everyone fighting here is within range of the Fury Shaman, so everyone's going to survive, and they're all in range of the objective as well. Now, the Shaman needs to try and stay safe. Oh, where can he go? There can't be a heroic combat this time. We'll have a think about that off camera. End of the move phase, and evil have decided to just trap Aragorn and try and kill him. There's someone ready to pick up the banner if it dies, and the shaman is spear supporting into the combat. If Aragorn butchers these, it could well be disaster for evil, because he'll kill the shaman next. But that is, there's nothing really evil can do at this point, because Aragorn has munched his way through at least a dozen orcs. So in the combat phase, we'll start with this one, shielding Warrior of the Dead against 3 orcs. The warrior loses, but he's got that banner reroll from Aragorn to still lose the fight. The Moranon, needing straight 6s, kills him. That's a big loss there, losing a third of the remaining force. We then have another 3 on shielding. Oh, banner reroll from Aragorn, still loses. If they lose 2 in 1 turn, that is big. So the Moranon needing straight 6s, rerolling 1s. No. We then have the 2 standard orcs who get a 6. Oh, and 2 1s, so rerolling them. No, so a 6 by 4. It's a 1 rerolling to a 6. The army bonus getting the kill, and it is now just Aragorn left on the field. Aragorn will let evil set the bar. So evil have 4 on the banner. The banner will be in gold. That's -1. They've got the 6. The pressure is on Aragorn here. And it's a 5 high. He called a heroic move. And that is unfortunate. In fact, did he call a heroic move? We're going to have to double check just to make sure we get this right. Yes, Aragorn called a heroic move, so he's out of might. The turns have come thick and fast and they're blurring together, but Aragorn has lost the fight and there's nothing he can do about it. So he's now going to take a couple of hits. He's out of fate, but he does have 3 wounds. There are 4 orcs in there and the shaman. So we'll roll for the orcs first. So their first set of strikes needing 5s, 1 wound. Second set of strikes, 2, 3, 4, and Aragorn is dead. Oh, the comeback of the century is over and he has fallen. It was so close, but unfortunately Aragorn just could not survive those numbers by himself and he is dead. And with that, the game automatically ends because one force has been tabled, so evil have automatically won. And looking at the victory conditions, they've probably won on victory points as well. With Aragorn and the army of the dead tabled, evil have won, ready to go off and destroy Minas Tirith. They have triple the number on that central objective for 7 victory points. They killed Aragorn for 2 and they broke the enemy for 1, which is 10 victory points. They are definitely broken for 1 for the forces of good, and Gothmog died to give them another 2. That means it is a 10-3 victory to the orcs, all down to that incredible Fury Shaman, keeping the orcs around and brave. The forces of good just could not quite fight their way through to him, and that is what sealed the deal for the forces of evil, getting their victory. The 3 hunters have fallen, and with them dies all hope for Minas Tirith. Now, the forces of evil will run rampant. I hope you enjoyed this game. It wasn't quite to the events of the books and films, but it was certainly very, very fun and complete carnage at the end. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.